There we go. Welcome back to Awaken Hope. I am so super grateful. I have my fabulous partner here with me, Alla Esther Levy, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. So tune in, listen, and pay attention because she's got some amazing information that we're going to share with you today. Welcome, Esther. I am so super grateful that you are partnering with the Awaken Hope Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's our second time, so I'm very excited. I've never really done two shows before, so I am very grateful to be brought back. You're very good at keeping your schedule. Many people say, yes, we're going to have you on, but very few people actually book and keep their booking. And you did. So that shows your loyalty and your commitment to your show, to your audience, to your community. And so I'm so very grateful. And to me, because, that would mess up my schedule too. So,
Oh, yeah. I really do try. Things happen, but I try to make sure that, and as you know, now I have an assistant who does send stuff out and, you know, she keeps me on my toes. So that's a good thing. But, I know we had you on before and you talked about the EQ, and we can talk about EQ. We can talk about your book. I would love for you to share what you would like the listeners to know about you and all your amazing wisdom.
oh, wow. Where should I begin? So, first of all, that's a tall order. So I
Just
appreciate
break it
you saying
down. No
that.
worries.
I appreciate you saying that, and I will humbly accept, but I will also say that I think what makes my book level of crazy, like an a-hole, everybody has one, and we can, look at it a little bit closer. I don't know, there
Hmm.
it is, behind the blur.
Yeah.
Um, one thing I will say about the book, and one thing I will say about what I'm looking to create with this movement of
Hmm.
emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, is really the ability to, what I'm recognizing that I'm doing is I'm actually helping people create and sustain a great life. And I say that very short and sweet like that because that is really what I've realized, that is what I'm doing myself
Hmm.
in the process. So before I can help anyone else do it, I am the number one student of my own work. And so that is what's allowed me to write the book. That is what allows me to be able to coach when I coach other people. Um, that is what allows me to really relate with the audience, whether
Hmm.
I'm doing a talk or I'm doing a workshop, or I'm just having a conversation with you or with another person, my partner, Tom, my
Hmm.
life partner and my business partner, Tom, because like I said, it's me first, I am the number one student of this work. And I realized just actually this year that creating and then sustaining are two different set of skills. And
Hmm.
so I realized that I can create, that's one thing. We all can manifest. There's so many, books and
Hmm.
coaches and information out there about manifestation. But
Hmm.
then how do you sustain that manifestation?
Hmm.
Right? How do you sustain? And that's what we were talking about with you, is that you've hit 500 episodes, and congratulations. And that takes something, that takes energy. And that is the skill of sustainability. So this book and the concept of um, the recognize and manage your level of crazy formula
Hmm.
is how I teach others to create and sustain their best crazy life. And I am on that journey with you.
Well, I honor the fact that you understand what it takes. You didn't just write this book and go, oh, this is how to manage your level of crazy. You've walked through that. You walk through it daily. And so you understand what it takes. You're not just putting information out there to say, oh, this is what you got to do to manage your level of crazy. We all have levels of crazy. But again, like you talk about in your book, is, how do you shift from reactive crazy to proactive crazy? So you're in the fire, so to speak. So you know what it takes to navigate from one space of crazy to another space of crazy. So your your information that you're putting out, your wisdom that you're sharing with the listeners is hands-on experience. It's authentic. You're not just saying, oh, you should do this in order to manage your level of crazy, but you've never walked through that. So I honor that for you. I really do, because it takes a lot of commitment to do that. Not everybody can sit there and go, oh, well, I mean, yeah, anybody could say, oh, well, you should do this, this, and this. But if you haven't walked in those shoes or similar, how the heck are you going to be able to connect and relate to people when they're like, oh my gosh, my hair's on fire and my level of crazy is like through the roof? You can, yeah, your experience is different because we all have different experiences. We experience life differently, but you also have that frame of reference.
Yeah, that is definitely, I think, one of my strong suits is that I, like you said, I live this every day. Relationships, I would say, is a really great example of getting our level of crazy going, right? So I can tell you that more often than not, I find myself going through different circumstances with my partner, and we are living the books in this the pages in this book because we are going through all these different scenarios as a couple. He is a man, I'm a woman, all the complexities of that,
Mm-hmm,
and trying to understand each other
mm-hmm,
and trying to have a relationship and trying to run a business because we're in partnership, professionally also, and learning to have a life. We're a blended family. So I don't have children, but he does. And for me, learning how to be a part of his family
mm-hmm,
and learning those dynamics and how do I manage my crazy when
mm-hmm.
maybe people are not, you know, interacting with me a certain way. I have to learn how to do that. I have to be the one to conform because I'm the one entering this unit that has been there this whole time.
Right.
So, yes, they have their dynamics and they have to do their part, but it's really all on me if I'm the one who wants to have peace in my heart, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So, so there's a lot. There's a lot to say about all of this, and I will tell you that it's a daily practice.
Which is going to lead us to a small break. We'll be right back. And then we're going to come back and we'll continue this conversation because Alla Esther Levy has an incredible book that each and every one of you need to read, need to tap into, because who in this world, and I just say this, answer for yourselves, who in this world doesn't have a level of crazy? If you say you don't, then I'm going to call you out and say, really? Reevaluate that. So we'll be right back and then we'll come back and have this conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Awaken Hope. Again, I have Alla Esther Levy here, and she is one of my partners with the Awaken Hope Show. And we have been talking about, she is the CEO and the founder of the EIEQ Institute and the creator of Recognize and Manage Your Level of Crazy formula. Hmm. You sit there and think, recognize your level of crazy. I'm not crazy. I don't have craziness. Well, I'm here to tell you we all do. Every one of us. We all have situations that bring about whether we're reactive or we're proactive, but we do have those levels of crazy. And we're going to get into more of what it takes because, like I told you before the break, I honor the fact that she walks through that. She's not just promoting something without having experienced herself. We talked about we were talking about blended families, and sometimes blended families really do challenge us in our level of crazy. So let's get into managing your level of crazy formula. Give us a little tidbit without giving away the entire book because we want people to go buy the book, but just give them a little bit of dip your toes in the water, so to speak.
Okay. I have a tough time doing that. I always want to give more. Um, so I'm going to give what I think is right, and then we'll stop. You can stop me at any point. The first thing I want to do is I definitely want to clear up for some listeners and viewers the following. Some people might think, okay, well, what type of personality and what type of mental health, let's say, category are you talking about when you're talking about crazy, level of crazy, right? And so I find this to be a very important distinction. And so here's how I create those distinctions. For me, there are three levels. And obviously, I'm simplifying this like for sure. So anyone who's a clinical psychologist or neuroscientist or whatever, I'm not those things. I am, a certified strategist in emotional intelligence. I am self-taught. I have worked with have coached with Tony Robbins and all the big guys in the space, right? Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra. I've read a lot of their books. So I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and leadership, all of it. So I know what I'm talking about from the sense of being self-taught and doing it this way. I am not a clinician, nor do I, want to be doing that. Um, but here's what I have figured out based on what I've seen over the 2 decades is that there's three um, categories. The
Mhm,
first one is someone who's clinically uh, they are either, depressed or harmful, or they are completely like not conscious
mhm.
of their surroundings. They're not functional. They are institutionalized, and they are not part of this conversation.
Right.
The second piece or the second distinction is people that are medicated, being treated for mental health, and maybe they live at home, maybe they live with, family members or whoever's taking care of them. They're somewhat functional,
Mhm,
but only if, like I said, they're functional. Like they can go to work, they can take care of themselves, they're still medicated, they're still getting treatment, but they are somewhat functional. And
mhm,
then you have the third one, which is us,
mhm,
right? People that are functional. We go to work, we run a podcast, we have businesses, we have families, you know, we're pretty functional, okay? And this is what, so it's between the third and the second
mhm,
category. This is what this book is for. This is what, when I call level of crazy, those are the people I'm talking about. And um and it's really a lighthearted conversation. It's not supposed to be anything offensive. It's really to teach us that we all have this, as I say, mishugana, right? In Yiddish, the word mishugana inside of us. And actually, Carl Jung, which
mhm,
was um, known for, he was a psychiatrist, psychologist
Right.
in the early 20th century, 1900s. He talked about this level of crazy in all of
Yeah.
us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure at that time he meant it a little bit more serious than I did because they were a lot more serious back then. Um, and so I think he meant it in a little bit more of a clinical kind of
Right.
basis. But I think he also meant what I'm trying to say is that we do have, all of us have these quirks. We
Mm-hmm.
all have these things. Like some people, you know, uh, and this is like borderline obsessive, but let's just say, some people close the door. Let's just say, I know this is going to sound like, okay, I want to check the door 3 or 4 times before I leave the house. Okay, that could be borderline, uh, passing
OCD.
over to the I don't know the clinical word, but you know what I mean, like obsessive compulsive, right?
Right.
And then otherwise, we could be overthinking about something that happened at work,
Right.
or we are talking to our partner and he's making us a little crazy, and we yell at him and whatever, and then the next minute, what do you want to eat, like so there's all kinds of stuff.
Right.
but but this is really just that. This is really for those everyday ordinary people trying to get through the day,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get through the moments of these blended families, um, and with our own self. Maybe we're confused about, let's just say, business, and we feel overwhelmed, and maybe we feel um, lost. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
feel conflicted. Maybe we feel like, oh my God, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this business anymore, or maybe I shouldn't be in this relationship anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not happy every single day. Today I'm feeling miserable.
Right.
Maybe it's my husband, maybe it's my wife.
Right.
So that's what this is for. And um, when you read the different kinds of crazy, we talk about defining the crazy inside the book. There's a chapter that says defining the crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
so defining the crazy is basically reactive crazy, RC, is anything that disrupts my internal peace and harmony, disconnecting me from my best self and others, causing me to experience sadness, depression, frustration, anger, fear, disconnect, and anything else related. And
Mm-hmm.
then proactive crazy, PC, is anything that causes me to experience joy, happiness, playfulness, creativity, imagination, and anything else related, resulting in a successful and fulfilled reality. And so, you know, I'm sure some of us have said or heard, um, he's crazy creative,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or she's batshit crazy,
Right.
you know? So it's like this play now, this word crazy at the beginning of my journey, people were really offended by
Mm-hmm.
the word crazy. And now I almost feel like, because I had started this process like 10 years ago. And I feel like in those 10 years, I feel like through osmosis, and I'm not going to claim that I was the founder of the word crazy, but
Right.
I do want to kind of humbly accept that energetically I was putting this out there
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like moving this energy to the point where now crazy, the word crazy, I've seen it everywhere, and people are crazy good, crazy bad, crazy this, crazy beautiful, crazy sexy, crazy da 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 da, da, you know? And I'm like, okay.
And that's okay. I mean, it's just a word. You just used it in a different context. And you're just because, someone, refer someone gets referred to as they're crazy. That isn't necessarily a bad term. Now, how you use it in the context use that word, and what follows the term crazy, can identify someone as not so stable. But, we all deal with a level of crazy.
Right.
You wake up,
Exactly. On one spectrum or the other, it's
mhm,
good crazy or bad crazy. And yeah, it just depends on what
mhm,
you said, how people use it. That's all.
yeah. And I really do feel that this book will help people get that clarity and, clarification on just because someone calls you crazy doesn't mean that you're crazy. That's
Right.
not,
Now, I do want to clarify that the book doesn't just talk about crazy. It talks about the idea of the book was really to to do two things, to introduce people to emotional intelligence and
mhm,
emotional quotient, and to give an understanding of what that is and why it's important. Because some people might say, I've never heard of that before. So if we know what IQ is how smart we are, right? Book smart we are. And then we have EQ, which is, I believe, which is kind of like the cousin. I call it the cousin, is how emotionally smart we are.
yep,
And so the quotient part is really the faculty percentage. So if you took a little quiz, which by the way, I have a quiz and people can go take it on the website. It's amazing. It's very fun. And so the other part of the book was meant to give you tools. So once you
mm,
understood what is this EQ stuff, then you have 30. And I realized this just the other day because, the more we do this, the more we realize what we're doing with our work.
right.
30 of the most, I would say, top, most important, most used by the highest level coaches and entrepreneurs because I've seen it. And
Hmm.
every time I hear them, I'm like, they're talking about the tool in my book. They're talking
Mm,
about what I wrote about. So this book, I did that on purpose. At the time, I thought I was just putting down these most important tools for me and for my life. But what I realize now, listening to all these amazing teachers in the world, is that everything they say, most of those tools are in here. I put them in one place on purpose.
right.
So, plus you have a bonus of the ASS protocol. Not supposed to be funny, but ASS protocol, which is awareness, strategy, serenity. And that is the very most important framework for people to be able to get themselves from this reactive to proactive crazy. And the more you do it, the better you get. And so the breakdown time, we talk about breakdowns versus breakthroughs, right?
Right.
So the lapse time should be increasing every time you have a breakdown. If you're practicing, because this is a practice, you
Right.
should be able to go from being reactive to proactive very quickly.
Right.
And it takes time, and it also depends on the event, because if
Right.
the event is really traumatic, it may take a little bit longer. So you be kind to yourself, you be compassionate with yourself. But yes, so that is why this book is so important. It's not just about, oh, level of crazy and she wrote about crazy. No, it's so much more.
So before we go to break, please share how people can acquire the book and how they can get in touch with you and learn more about um, IQ, EQ, and managing your level of crazy.
So the easiest way is to go to my website. It's right there, eieqinstitute.com. And
Okay.
on there, you will find lots of information as well as how to get the book. The book is in 4 platforms, which is great: Audible, paperback, hardcover, and ebook, all different price points. And there's lots of videos. I make content all the time. So you can see all my socials there, my YouTube, my Facebook, my this, my that. Um, and I don't know, I think I blanked there for a second, but the point is, oh, the exciting thing is that we are updating, we're enhancing the website. So that is in progress. So it's going to be, it looks great now. If you love it now, it's going to look even better. So I'm really excited about that. And the
Okay.
quiz. And the
Okay.
quiz is there. So you can go on there. The book also the quiz, but you can also take it online and get your answers right away.
Mhm.
And then, if people want to work with me privately, that's available too. And or have me come out and do a book signing or, do an event or workshop, whatever, that's all available.
Perfect. And we'll make sure all that's in the show notes. You can, go check it out. EQ, and how to manage your level of crazy. It's a formula. It really is a method and it is a formula, level of crazy method. Just know this, like she said, we all have it. Life happens to all of us. And believe me, when life happens, your level of crazy, your reactive crazy can get kicked into high gear. And the more you do it, like she said, the more consistent you are, the more you understand the gap between your reactive crazy and your proactive crazy lessens. So you can go from one and it take a little while, sometimes depending on the event, but you can get to your proactive level of crazy and be at peace. That's what we all desire. That's what we all want. Um, Anybody that says they like that level of reactive crazy, I would just go, okay, let's have a conversation because I'd love to know why you like that. And some people, maybe that is true. But for the majority of us, no, we want that proactive, calm, peaceful, crazy. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned and we'll come back and finish this conversation. Welcome back to Awaken Hope. Again, I am so super grateful. I have Alla Esther Levy here, and we have been talking about EIEQ and managing your level of crazy method, which she did clarify. It's not about, the term crazy. Some people think, it's not what you're thinking about. It is, yes, there is a clinical term of crazy, but that's not what she's talking about. She's talking about how when we get hit with life, because we all do, doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in. Maybe you're in a blended marriage, a blended family, and that in itself is a level of crazy. Depending on, you've got personalities, different personalities. Sometimes they're meshing, sometimes they're not. If you have kids and they're like, I don't even listen to you, or they're just challenging. How do you manage that? How do you manage yourself so that you can navigate life to get from that reactive stage all the way to that peaceful, serene state, which is your proactive crazy? It's just a term. Again, how you define crazy is based off of what the context of that word and the context that word is used in a conversation. But what Alla Esther Levy talks about is not that, you know, it is really not that. It's a tool. She has a tool to help you navigate life. She's used it on herself. She's trained with it. She understands. She's not just throwing out a term out there and going, hope it hits, hope it sticks, and you learn something from it. She walks it daily. She walks it within her life. So she knows what she's talking about. So I encourage you and I recommend, you like to read books. I love to read books. My books sometimes, especially if I have a lot of time to get into them, they look like ink kind of exploded in my books. I highlight, I have tabs. I'm like, oh, my husband just shakes his head and goes, okay. It's finding the time to really delve into a book and get lost. Because when I do dive into a book, sometimes I'm like, I don't have any time for anything else. I'm just in that book. But if you like to read, I recommend you go and you acquire the book. You will learn a lot, not only about yourself, but how to, recognize and manage what's happening in your life at that moment. What is your level of crazy? So think about it. It's something only you can answer for yourself. It's an individual thing. It doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means, how do you manage you? How do you navigate life to help you get from whatever's making your hair stand up on fire to, okay, that can be a short gap, that can be a big gap, all up to you. So let's kind of, for those people that really don't know, can you dive into EQ? I understand EQ and what EQ is, but can you kind of give us a overview of EQ, EI, EQ?
Yep. So I'm going to read right straight here from the book so I
Okay.
can give you the information. And you see, I'm always giving stuff away. You see that? All right. So, chapter 4, I'm even going to give you the chapter. What is emotional intelligence and emotional quotient and its history? So, emotional intelligence, EI, is the ability to recognize and understand your emotions and the impact they have on your behavior and how that behavior impacts others. It is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in a positive way to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse conflict, creating win-wins for all parties involved. So that is the initial step. That is the emotional intelligence faculty.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional quotient, EQ, is the score of your emotional intelligence faculty. The more you increase your emotional intelligence, the higher your score, your EQ score. Just like your IQ score, the higher your IQ, the more intelligence you are said to have. Therefore, the higher the EQ, the more emotional intelligence you are said to have, which results in a higher level of success in life and overall well-being. And then it goes into a growing body of research is proving that these emotional muscles are key to personal growth and development, optimal health and wellness, fulfilling relationships, purposeful and prosperous career, spiritual connection to self and to others, and overall balance and peace of mind.
Mm.
And I just want to give a percentage
Mm-hmm.
that we know that high IQ serves up to 25% of success and fulfillment in short-term gain and up to 75% success and fulfillment resulting in long-term gain. So meaning to say that the higher our EQ is, the more successful we are in life, because then we can manage life, we can manage um, let's just say you're in college and you are learning all these things, or you're a professional and you're learning and you're super qualified and you're very good at what you do and you're just an amazing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have people skills, or if you're not able to connect to yourself or to environment around you, then you're really leaving money on the table
Mm-hmm.
because you're really just playing in one field and not the other. And so EQ has really, in the past 10 years since I've started this work, has really blown up in corporate environments because they see that EQ is not something yes, you can learn it, absolutely, but they want to hire people that are inherently have some percentage of it, because otherwise you're dealing with a person who's just very difficult. They're very smart, they're very clear, maybe the task gets done, but then they can't really get along with the other team members, and it makes it very difficult for the company to function. So, and then that's just work-wise. Imagine a family where everyone's reacting.
Yes.
Everyone's just behaving raw emotion.
Hmm.
How is that going to work? You know?
It doesn't. You're not meant, I mean, if you're reactive all the time and you're just kind of, everything just, as I would call it, like a ticking time bomb, people that are reactive tend to be ticking time bombs because they're they don't know how to. And I say this from my own experience. I am talking from my own experience. For there was many years I was just a ticking time bomb. I had EQ, but I didn't know how to connect with people
Mhm.
because
Exactly.
there were various things that affected me. And I was going through life and I was like, and I was like exploding. I literally was exploding because I had so much reactivity and I couldn't connect on a level with people. I loved people, but I was like, I don't know, I had a big wall between me and the connection. And what I learned for myself was I had to really step back and find what it was. There was a wall of pain, there was a wall of hurt, there was a wall of crazy, as I would call it, as you describe it, that reactive crazy that needed to be dealt with in order to facilitate more of that EQ coming out and connecting with people. I've always um, connected with people, but I built up that wall of pain that kind of blocked it. And when you can be, like she said, crazy smart, but if you don't know how that have, as I say, people skills, you can't connect with people, you can't resonate with someone or empathize with somebody, you're going to be challenged. And you're leaving more money on the table than you really need to do. So it's about a balance, finding you can be smart, don't get us wrong, super smart, but also balance out that EQ. Find how to connect. Because if you're just reacting, it's not a good way in your home life. It's not a good way in your professional life. It just, you become that ticking time bomb that, and yeah, you can manage it, but again, you cannot circumvent the law of physics. What you put down, I promise you will come up. It just, it's physics. You can't get around that. And it doesn't oftentimes come out straight. It comes out sideways. And then you're like, eh. So really stop and think about it. Question yourself. Ask that question. What is your EQ? How do you connect with people? How do you resonate when it comes to your family, your peers, whether you're at work or you're in a business, or what is what's showing up? That's going to be a super good room or mirror of what your EQ is. How do you show up when you're around and interacting with people? Are you toxic? Are you angry at everybody? Are you facilitating conversations? You name it. And I do say this because I love you all with my heart. If it's triggering you, just means there's a level there that you need to kind of address. So just think about it. Don't go screaming to the hills. Just do some introspection because we all want to become better individuals that are smart, but also have high EQ. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Awaken Health. Again, Ella and I have been talking about, oh my gosh, EQ, managing your level of crazy. She is the founder and the CEO of the EIEQ Institute, also the author of Managing Your Level of Crazy formula. But before we went to break, I was talking about how it's so important to have more, to manage your EQ, to foster your EQ. And you may be thinking, well, I don't need EQ. Well, I'm here to tell you, you do. You can have all the smarts in the world, but if you can't connect with the people around you or your family or your peers, or you're missing out on something. You don't want to go through this life reactive. I mean, there's reactive. Trust me, I know. I used to be that way. And then every once in a while, I fall off that cliff and I'm like, I react and I'm like, oh man, but I recognize it and I'm like, okay. And I have to humble myself. And as I said in an episode before, uh, don't become the hurricane candy that comes out and it's just, the path is destruction and it's wide and it's hurtful. Manage your emotions. Don't become that reactive person. Go from recognizing it to managing it and being proactive. All right, Alla Esther, let's go. Let's talk more about what you would love to share more with the listeners about.
So yeah, during the break, I was telling you about this process of learning how to respond versus reacting. And this is something that we all do. This is something that inherently, as spiritual beings on a human journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, spiritual beings on a human journey is what we are meant to do. We are meant to react, but our job is to learn how to respond. And so that is what the book is about. That is what this level of crazy method is about, because I too was a very reactive person. And I still have that in me because, again, I'm a spiritual being on a human journey.
Right.
So, but it's the process of learning how to shift that. And that's what I was talking about, the ASK protocol and all these different
Mm-hmm.
tools. Now, one of the things I want to share is recently had a very funny story happen. And if most things were like this, it would be no big deal. But unfortunately, life doesn't always work like this. But at least for this episode, it's a funny story. So Tom and I have established a second home here in North Carolina. And one day we're, just around the house, whatever, and I receive a little text message, and the text message says, I've packed the meat and put everything in the freezer. Now all we have to do is eat it. I look at Tom and it was a group text. So he looks at it and he's like, what? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, was that a dinner invitation? And we're both like confused. Like, is that what Southerners do? Is that how they communicate? Hey, come over for dinner? And so I go, wait a second. So I looked up ChatGPT, of course, and I said, Chat, is this a dinner invitation? What does this mean? And he's like, well, in some parts of the Appalachian Mountains, which is where we are, this is how they describe the process of preparing their deer meat or their whatever meat.
Mm-hmm.
And they pack it and they organize it, they put it in the freezer, and then they just need to eat it. And he says, I don't necessarily hear a straightforward dinner invitation, but it could be. He goes, you may want to send a nice text clarifying. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Hello. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. So we went on about this with them for a few minutes, and it was like this funny situation about this interaction that was going back and forth. Eventually, she realized that she sent a mistake, that she was only supposed to be sending it to her husband, and she sent it in the group text. And so she was like, well, if you're hungry, come on over. And we were like, no, no, that's okay. That's okay. So at the end of the day, we were all laughing, and she promised that she'd have us over for dinner before we left, and that'll be great and whatever. But what does that show us? That shows us that our initial response is usually a reaction. We don't know, we sometimes see something and we react without seeing the big picture. Now, this is, like I said, a funny story, but imagine what we do in real serious situations where
Mm-hmm.
we get angry, where we judge, where we lose all sense of common decency, and we just lash out on someone and we cause a scene or a fight or whatever. Now, trust me when I say I look innocent, I sound innocent, but I've had my moments.
Hmm.
And that is why I'm so passionate about this work because I realized if I want to live a healthy, happy life, I better get it together
Hmm.
because I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it with this behavior, with this level of crazy that I had, which was really intense. And so that's why EQ has become my passion. It has become my mission. It has become everything for me because it is just so important.
And I attest to that. EQ is. It really is. You need EQ. You can't just function strictly on IQ because you're missing out on stuff. You're missing out on valuable assets, money, you name it. It's left on the table. But and you want to, we all desire, like she said, we're spiritual beings on an earthly journey. We want to be able to become our best version of ourselves, however that is, whoever that is. But in order to do that, we have to have a level of EQ. We have to be able to manage our emotions. We have to be able to recognize that we can't be so reactive in life. I mean, again, this is me speaking from my own experience before. You, if you don't manage that and you don't learn to navigate that, you will uh, you will become hurricane candy, not whoever you are. Again, it's funny, but it's not funny because you think about what do hurricanes do? They come in, they create a level depending on where they touch down. They can burn off tornadoes. They're destructive. They destroy things. They level out. They bring in lots and lots of rain, and their path is of usually of destruction. So you don't want to do that. Take what we've learned from our experience and tap into that. Get Alla Esther's book, Managing Your Level of Crazy.
I
It's
want to give one more tool.
sure.
You see, I told you I'm always giving stuff away. All right. This is number 20 in the section that we talk about with the tools, and I call them bricks. And there's a reason why I call them bricks, and I'm not going to give that part away. But this is brick number 20, and it's called Yank Your Chain. So I'm
Mm,
just going to read a little bit of this. In other words, get calm, cool, and collected before you act. It's important to be in a calm and non-reactive state when dealing with a conflict or any kind of interaction. Oftentimes, we want to resolve a conflict right away, right now. But if we are in a super reactive state, aka reactive crazy, it's not the right time to have those conversations. Trust me when I say I have had my share of trying to resolve an issue while my RC was out of control. It
mm,
never resolved anything and it always made things worse.
mm. That is very profound wisdom and insight. You know, take the book, acquire the book, read it, learn about yourself. We all experience life differently and we all go through stuff, but learn to manage what, when life happens, learn to manage those emotions. Get that EQ where you're strong, but you recognize, okay, I lost it today. It's okay. You're human. We all are going to fall short. Trust me. I do this every day of the week. Some days I wake up and depending on how well I slept, I'm like, don't talk to me. And I'm just kind of going through the motions. But there's other times when I'm well and I'm like, today's good. But I recognize it. It's more about recognition of when I'm having an off day versus when I'm having a better day. And we can all navigate life smoother, and it will improve. I can promise you this, it will improve your relationships. When you are calm, your relationships get better. But when you're reactive and you're just like running around like your hair's on fire, do a test. What are the people around you? How are they reacting to you? If your hair's on fire and you're running around reacting, more often than not, they're reacting the same way. And you're just kind of bouncing off of each other going, oh, I don't know. But if you are proactive, things can be calm. Things can be so much smoother. So foster that EQ, the EIEQ, and learn about yourself. You will not be disappointed. Go acquire the book. Check out Alla Esther's Institute and learn. This is what we're here to do. We're here to learn. We're here to grow and become whatever length of time we're here in these earthly bodies. We're here to learn to become better individuals so that we impact our community, our world, and the people around us. I have truly enjoyed today's conversation, and I am so super grateful that you are partnering with the Awaken Hope Show. Before we say aloha today, are there any last minute words of wisdom you want to impart before we have our next episode?
I will say practice compassion, compassion for yourself and compassion for others. And I always say in the book that when you understand your own crazy, then you can understand other people's crazy. And therefore, that's where compassion and grace lives. And I think if more of us were able to do that, things would go a little bit smoother. And so I'm hoping that the world is slowly getting there.
Mm-hmm. And she's right. Her wisdom is spot on. When you're compassionate, especially with yourself, okay? No matter what's happening in your life, when you can have some compassion for yourself, you can look at someone else that may be spinning out of town, spinning with their hair on fire, going, oh my gosh. And you can look at them and go, okay, maybe they're not having such a good day today. Instead of you reacting and getting in the mix of that, you can look back and go, okay, I'll give them some grace. I'll give them some compassion and give them space to figure out how to get from where they need to be to that proactive crazy level of crazy. Her wisdom is spot on. Her expertise is spot on. So take it, learn from it, acquire the book, and learn from her. Thank you so much, Alla Esther, for being my amazing guest. I am so super grateful for you, and I am so super grateful that you are choosing to partner with the Awaken Hope Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. It's always so much fun, so educational, so much healing, and it always reminds me why I'm doing this work. So I appreciate you.
And ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening to this, it's resonating. You're like, oh my gosh. Ugh. If it's sparking something in you, it just means there's something that needs to be addressed. And you need to download it, save it, share it. And if you're listening and someone's popping into your mind, there is a reason why they're popping into your mind. They need to hear it. So share Alla Esther's EIEQ Institute information and the book, Managing Your Level of Crazy. Share the book, share her information, and you will be truly blessed. I can guarantee you that. And I am so super grateful for each and every one of you. As you're listening, you can continue to listen on brushwoodmedianetwork.com/awaken hope. Everywhere Apple has a presence, as well as iHeart Podcasts. Continue to listen, continue to tune in, and I am super grateful for each and every one of you for making this show incredibly amazing. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.